Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and welcome back again. In this chapter, we are going to give you an overview about the different type of businesses ownership. Let's start sharing the slide so we can start discussing this chapter. Here we are. Okay, so the main target of this chapter is to try to give you the definition and the advantage and disadvantage of business ownership. So we try to distinguish between the different kind of business ownership when you start to when you want actually to start a business. So if you decide to start a business, they will actually ask you what kind of business do you want to start. Are you think about corporation or, for example, limited liability, partnership, sole proprietorship? What kind of business do you want to start? So you need to understand the definition of those business ownership type and the advantage and disadvantage so you can decide which type you could start or your business should be. So first of all, we will define what we mean by business ownership. Business ownership, it refers to the control over the enterprise, the company, providing the power to order the operations and function. So business ownership is your actually authorities or your power to control the business as a whole, controlling the operation and controlling the function. And there are many different types. The first and the easiest type we call solely proprietorship. Solely proprietorship. What do we mean by solar proprietorship? It's actually the business which is owned and managed by one person. So a business that is owned and usually managed by one person, we call it solely proprietorship. The advantage of this kind of business ownership is that it's actually very easy to start that business. And also you can be your own boss and you can also be your own manager. It's the leap of, I guess, the ability to leave legacy for the future will be actually generated. Also, the most important things is that you have the benefit, you have the whole of the benefit, you have the whole of the money. So keeping all your profits and benefits of increasing value as the business grows, because you are the only one who actually control the business. But the disadvantage is that you have a risk of personal lose, because you are going to invest a lot of money and you will invest it from your own pocket or from your own money. So there's a risk that you will lose all of those money. Also, the limited of financial resources, limited of what the owner can raise. If you decide to increase or you try to expand your business, it depends actually how many you have. Because you are the only manager, you will have a difficulty in management and also the difficulty of time of commitment, because you are only the one who is working in that business, so you will work for long hours. You will have a problem of a few benefit, of course, limited of growth and lifespan. Why limited of growth? Because you only depend on, because the whole of the business only depend on one owner. So if you want to expand, you will need a lot of money, and also you will need a lot of time, money, and effort. So your expansion will be a little bit slow. The second type of business ownership, what we call a partnership. A partnership actually occurs in a business between two or more owners. So there's two owners of one business or more, we call it a partnership. The advantage of partnership that now you have another one or another two or three person. So you will have more financial resources. You can put it in your business so you can increase. Also, the management, you are not now alone in managing your business. You can share the management with other person. So you could have a longer survival. There's a chance to succeed, and there's a big chance to succeed because, again, you have a partner that can help you in the financial resources, it can help you in the management of your businesses. But also there have some disadvantage. One of the disadvantages is unlimited liability, of course. The division of power. If you remember, when you are alone and you have your own money, what you get it, you will get it, and you will have it as a profit. But now you need to divide it into your, of course, your partner. This agreement among the partner is actually sometimes happen because you will have some idea, maybe your partner will have a different idea. So you'll have some disagreement about one topic. Difficulty, of course, in terminate is one of them disadvantage. The third type of business ownership, what we call the corporation. Now, corporation actually is a legal entity with authority to act and have liabilities separately from its owner. What I mean by that, now you will have two things. You will have something called a board of directors, some people who own that company, and you will have an executive director, the one who actually operate day by day operation. Of course, these have some advantages, and many, of course, disadvantages. So one of the advantages is limited liability. Now, liability, sorry. The owners of the business are responsible for its loss only up to the amount they invest in that company. More, of course, you will have now more money for investment because you will have an owner, more than owner. The size of the company, of the corporation, will actually become big. Their life and expanding will be easy to ownership change because now you have in the board of director. If you don't like them, this company, you can sell your share, for example, and go to another company. Of course, separation of the ownership and management, as I mentioned before. There is a board of director who is responsible for the owner who actually invests in that company, and there is a management who actually managing day by day operation in that company. But there is also a disadvantage for establishing a corporation. Maybe one of the big advantage is the expensive in starting a corporation, expensive in developing this kind of corporation. Also, when you start a corporation, you will have a lot of paperwork you need to do to start this kind of businesses. Also, size. Corporation, actually, they are a large corporation. It have a large of inflexibilities and in response in their market change, in their decision making. And also, there's a big chance to have conflict between the stockholders and the board, because sometimes the stockholders, those who have the money, of course, and have the share in that company, they can have some view about, for example, about the development of a new project or entering a new market. Whereas the management can disagree about this kind of expansion. Also, the disadvantage and the conflict can happen within the board of director itself. The fourth business owner, we call it limited liabilities company. A limited liability company is a business structure whereby the owners are not personally liable for the company debits or any liabilities. So in this kind of business ownership, the owner personal things actually is not linking with the company. And the limited liability companies are hybrid. They are actually mixed of characteristics between the corporation, partnership, and solar proprietorships. Of course, they have some advantage and they have disadvantage. For the advantage, it's a limited liability. So your personal assets, what you own, actually protected. It's not linking with them, with the company. For example, if the company lose, they are not allowed to take from your personal assets what you have to recover in them losing for the company. Flexible ownership rule, owners can be person or can be partnership or corporation. You can choose from those three different types. Flexible distribution of a profit and loss. Member agree on the percentage to be distributed to each member. Operating flexible, of course, submit operating agreement, describe how the company is to be operating. And there is, of course, disadvantage of using limited library company. Of course, there will be no stock. Ownership is not transferable. A proof of member needed in order to sell. So, for example, if you decide to sell your stock or your ownership in that company, the other owner must be agreed. Limited lifespan, have to identify the solution data, of course, and there is a limited in paperwork is required, and a few, of course, frank benefit for using limited library. So as I mentioned before, the main objective of this chapter just to distinguish between those different form of ownership, so it will be very easy to understand or to decide which type of business form you can choose and start your business, of course, based on their benefits and their withdrawal or their advantage and disadvantage. Thank you very much for following this chapter, and see you in the next